Hi, devotees.
Hi, devotees. Welcome back
To part
part 6
6
of Outlander.
Yes. We made it. Yay!
Made it. Thank goodness, but also I'm sad.
I'm a little sad too. These last few chapters were very rough emotionally.
Yeah, they were heavy.
They were. I am ready to get into our palate cleanser for sure.
Me too.
Should I share
Ready
with
to
the
dive.
team what we have decided?
Yes, what has been voted so far?
So the voting is now turned off in our Fable chat. It only lasts like a few days, and there's no way to change that inside of Fable, unfortunately. So actually, nobody voted in our Fable Book Club, but that's okay because we have literally 7 devotees in our Fable Book Club, and that's okay, you guys. We're hopefully more people will join, especially because maybe you've been wanting to read this book for a while. It has a TV show adaptation, and so our next read is going to be Margo's Got Money Troubles.
I'm excited.
I will say that the TV show is excellent. I've watched at least 5 episodes. I'm gonna stop and read the book and then go back and rewatch it.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess it'll be interesting for me to, get most of the way through the book and kind of see the differences, just like we did with Outlander. Obviously, you and I have both seen the first season almost all the way through, if not all the way through. So we've been able to like compare and contrast a lot of things and kind of see how it very much closely follows the storyline so far.
Yeah, and I don't remember the last bit of the show, like this whole section. I like barely remember because it is very rough to watch too, because they do a good job.
Yeah, they do. They do.
It's rough, guys.
Okay, you guys. I'm going to do a quick recap from our last chapter in our last part, technically, because we did part 5 and 6 in our last episode. If you have not watched that, go and watch that now and then circle back. And if you're finishing up Outlander, don't start watching this yet. Finish the book, then come back, discuss in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your opinions. We want to hear your theories if you have any. I personally don't. But if you have some, I want to hear it. We know that this book was published almost 30 years ago, right? Pretty sure. I know. I'm pretty sure.
It was published in 91.
It was published in 90. Okay, cool. So 30 some odd years ago.
34. I'm pretty damn sure. Yeah, copyright 1991.
Okay, yeah. So
I was 1.
We are new to this. But we are also true to this. So
exactly,
it's kind of a bit of fun foray for us to get into a historical romance because this is not my typical flavor whatsoever. So
no,
yeah,
but it's fun.
it's been super fun. Okay. Okay, let's do a quick recap of our last part and our last chapter. So, in our last part, this is Dougal's story. We kind of we know at this point that Dougal is a snake in the grass. He kind of snatches Claire and brings her into the cave, and he's like, listen, Claire, I'll marry you. Jamie's not going to make it out alive. Forget about old Jamie. He's nothing. I'm everything. I can protect you. Yada yada. You could be at my estate. We could be at Lollybrook. We could be wherever the fuck you want, Claire. And Claire's like, I don't want anything to do with you, Doog McSchmoog. I want my husband. And he's just like, okay, listen, you can't have my men, but you can have some coin. Here's some money. Go along your merry way. Try to rescue your husband. Good luck. I'll smell you later. Oh yeah, but before you go, I have a message for you from Galus. And Claire's like, oh yeah, go do tell. So Galus basically says that it is possible to go back through the stones, and then she gives a number. 1967, which, to Douglas means nothing. But to Claire, it means something. Claire puts it together that Galus, is probably from 1967, which is a full 20 years after her time, 20 years plus after her time. And that's basically the end of the chapter. And then we move right in to part 7. For us, this is going to be part 6 that we're filming. Chapter 35, Wentworth Prison. So Claire figures out that they still have Jamie in the prison and that he is scheduled to be killed in 2 days' time when she gets this information. She goes to Sir Fletcher, which is basically the prison manager, the prison keep. He's got a big
Warden.
position. Yeah. Yes, warden, exactly. He's the warden of the prison. He's the big man around town. Although I don't think, like, stature-wise, not giving big energy, giving real schmedium energy. Personally.
All around.
If I had to guess. That's neither here nor there and is not pertinent to the story.
Our vibes.
Claire basically asks Sir Fletcher if she can give, his family's last message to Jamie. But Sir Fletcher is like, no, dude. He's in with Gen Pop. He's in with some real unseasonable characters. You're a lady. I'm simply not going to allow it. So Sir Fletcher basically gives Jamie's personal effects to Claire. Obviously, Claire is extremely upset and cries a lot during this time. She goes back to tell Rupert and Murtaugh that she hasn't been able to see Jamie, but he hasn't been killed yet. Murtaugh basically goes, all right, well, I'm going to take this money that Douglas gave us, and I'm going to go and try to get some information on the fortress, and also scramble up some men to help us out. So, they learn from the soldiers that Sir Fletcher has an afternoon nap that he takes kind of after his lunchtime meal, and he's asleep for several hours. So
Nice.
They also slip some keys off of some of the soldiers as well. And they give Claire the keys to infiltrate the prison and hopefully try to go and find Jamie. So Claire starts sneaking around trying to find Jamie, and she learns that Evil Frank, aka Captain Blackjack Randall, has shown up and taken Jamie to torture him basically at his leisure. Which is, he's known to do this. He kind of frequently does this, and he did this to an individual, a young man, not too long ago, and that young man ended up killing himself. So we kind of learn all of this, and, it leads us to be really concerned for Jamie's welfare, and we know that Evil Frank, Blackjack Randall, has been trying to obtain Jamie, for lack of a better word, for quite some time. He's been trying to get up Jamie's woody butthole for a hot second. And I'm not even saying that in a hee hee ha ha way. That was like genuine. We know. He's been trying to be a little nasty. So
yeah,
obviously he takes this time to make that happen. He finds Jamie at a really vulnerable time and is like, yeah, yoink, take him right out of Gen Pop, straight to the dungeons, but it's not really a dungeon, right? Claire ends up finding Jamie in this, like, I don't know, kind of like love room, if you will, that Captain Blackjack Randall has made. He's into his lavender and his oils and his essences, and he has made it kind of weird and cozy, and Claire's like, what the fuck? And so she finds Jamie curled in himself. He's in really terrible shape. Jamie tries to warn Claire that Evil Frank will be back soon. And Claire sees Jamie's hand and it's basically completely damaged. His right hand is mangled. It's raw. It's broken. Looks bad. Jamie says it's payment for Evil Frank's nose, which he broke, not that long ago, and he punched him in the face. So Claire is beyond pissed about this. Claire starts to work on freeing Jamie, and suddenly Evil Frank busts in, He throws her to the side, but he is not alone. He has brought a big man with him. Evil Frank politics that, with Claire a little bit. He's trying to strike a deal with her. At first he was gonna like make her watch while he assaulted Jayme, and it turns into this
Mhm.
whole thing, and they're like trying to work, they're both mentally trying to manipulate each other. It's getting crazy. So then Jayme gets his second win and stands up and knocks Evil Frank out. And also he knocks out the big orderly as well, which is the
Mhm.
other man that Evil Frank had brought down with him. It's just this big kind of oaf of a man. Um Evil Frank comes too quickly though, because Jayme's been in such a weakened state. He wasn't really able, he would knocked him out temporarily, but he wasn't really able to like get him all the way out.
Yeah.
So Evil Frank wakes back up and threatens Claire's life. He's like, listen, at this point, I'm going to kill your wife, but I'll strike a deal with you. Evil Frank wanted Jayme basically at this point, and if Evil Frank could have Jayme biblically, that he would let Claire go. Claire then tells Evil Frank that he will marry. At this point, she's like, listen, Jayme, rewind. Jayme agrees to this because he's like, anything to save
Mhm.
Claire. Anything to
Yeah.
save my wife, my wife, my wife. Now, at this point, I don't think that Evil Frank had gotten to the point where he had sexually assaulted Jayme quite yet. I
I
think
don't
that
think so.
I think that he kind of worked his way there slowly.
Mhm.
Maybe he had done some other things prior to this, but I don't think that he had taken Jayme in the way that, like, what happens after this point.
Yeah.
So Claire basically leaves Evil Frank with some parting information. She says that he will marry and he will have a child that he will never live to see, and then she gives him the hour of his death. Evil Frank throws her out the body hole, which is where they dump all the dead bodies. Once Claire is outside of the prison, there's wolves. So she goes through this entire ordeal where she just watches Jayme get completely taken advantage of. Um, Evil Frank is like, yeah, and I'm gonna assault your husband. Yeets her ass outside. And then there's a wolf in her face. Several wolves, in fact. They attack her, which is like insane. Claire fights off the wolves, and then she is finally rescued after this just terrible chapter of back to back horrendous, horrible things happening. She finally gets
Yeah.
rescued, but they have not yet gotten Jayme out, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Also, during that time, uh, Jimmy makes that deal. Evil Frank nails his hand to the table and saying, "Don't move. I'm gonna go get rid of your wife." So his hand's mangled, and then he has like a nail hole in it, and that almost made Jimmy pass out more. But yeah, it's bad. It's real
Foul.
bad.
Foul.
Yeah. These few chapters are a little rough, guys, but
You
it's
need to be warned.
storytelling.
You need to
Yeah,
be warned.
yeah,
You need to be aware that this is true body horror, torture, porn, legitimately. Sorry, it is.
it
And
is.
it is really hard to read. So if that is something that bothers you, you need to stop here because it just gets worse.
Yeah. And there's a lot of talk later about self introspective and it's rough. It's rough. Jamie goes into detail a little bit, but not too much, but he goes into detail. So yes. So Claire is saved by some random Scots that she doesn't even know. And because I thought it was Murtaugh and them like coming out. I was like, oh good, Murtaugh and Rupert. Nope, it was just some random Scots. And she's like, what the hell? So she's confused. And she's a little hurt and disoriented and just like she's in her mind. And so she does. I said she doesn't know them. One of them's in like a bearskin outfit, and she's like a little freaked out because she's like, "Is that a bear? No, it's a person. What?" I would be freaked out too. Like, it's just like a bare head and like skin. Ugh, no
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, after they run in with the wolves and she's like, and now there's a bear. Yeah.
Why all these creatures? And then she already saw Nessie.
For real. Yeah, Claire has encountered every kind of Highland creature that has ever existed. Poor Claire.
Poor Claire. She's about to get some Highland cows too, which are the cutest. Uh, so then she's asking them for help. Like they bring her to like a little shack, and she's like, "I need to find my people, Berton, everybody, and then I need to save my husband." Just all this. So she's like begging, and then she kind of passes out, which I don't blame her. It's a lot she went through. Then she wakes up in the cottage, but known by someone named McRannock and his wife Annabelle, and it's not the doll. Don't worry, it's not the creepy possessed doll. And they're a bit standoffish because random English woman is here and just passes out, and like they're like, "What? What? Who is this lady?" Murtaugh then arrives and recognizes McRannock from a gathering years prior, and he explains that Claire is Jamie Fraser's wife, Ellen's son. McRannock is the one that gave Ellen, Jamie's mom, the bracelets and the pearls. So he's like, "For Ellen, I will save her son." It's like, hell yeah. So while all this is happening, though, Rupert steals the cattle, the Scottish Highland cows, and lets them loose in Wentworth Prison. So there's just like hella going on. So prison break. Hell yeah. Anyway, we steal the cows, and it's a catastrophe. Anyway,
Nice.
Jamie is recovered during this time. Like he's not recovered, but like taken,
Mhm.
recovered from the prison during this time. And Randall is trampled and supposedly dead. And it's like, yeah, we'll see. Uh, Back at the cottage, Claire starts to tend to Jamie's numerous wounds because it's just wounds everywhere, and his hand is just fucked. So it's bad. It's really bad. So Claire has to take his hand, and because there's no X-rays, there's none of the good stuff there, guys. She has to like feel along his good hand to see what is broken in the bad hand. So it's hurting, obviously. And Jamie refuses like any pain medication. She's like, just give me some whiskey. I need to be awake. She's like, no, you don't. He's like, if they come, I need to save you. Like, it's like, Jamie, just pass the fuck out, dude. Just pass the fuck out. But he doesn't. And so Claire starts to fix his hand. And it's long going, and McGrannock is there to help. He gives him Jamie a bit of leather to bite because you don't want him biting off his tongue and swallowing his tongue and like all of that. So Jamie screams, obviously. I would too. And Claire does what she can. It's the 1700s. She did the best she fucking could, guys. And he's done. Claire gets up and goes to bed because she needs the rest. Like they're making her go rest. They're like, you need to rest. McGrannock's like, I will watch him. You go sleep. And Claire comes out a little later, and Jayne tries to tell her what happened, but she's not into it. She does not want to know about Randall's repeated assaults, and he can't, and she doesn't really want to know. He breaks down a little bit. I mean, I get it, and then falls asleep. I believe in Claire's lap, which is very, very sweet.
Yes. So, chapter 37, this is called Escape. So they, so they take off from the McRannock excuse me, McRannock house, I think is how you say it. I'm so sorry. And they tell Claire at this point, like, listen, Claire, you have to pretend to be a hostage if we get caught. Jamie is worse for wear, but alive, but barely. They end up getting stopped by some soldiers. And Murtaugh is talking with the soldiers and saying, yes, I'm just so sorry we got lost, and Jamie is my master, and he's quite unwell. And yeah, sure enough, Jamie is super unwell. He is bleeding all over the snow. It's snowing at this point. It's cold. It's winter. He's bleeding all over the place. Claire jumps into action. She jumps down from her horse to go and kick the snow basically underneath Jamie, and, throw an extra blanket around him, around his leg, which is the cause of the bleeding. And, hoping that the soldiers won't notice that anything is amiss. In the commotion of Claire jumping off of her horse to help Jamie, one of the redcoats does notice and basically asks Jamie why he isn't helping Claire. Then Jamie just fucking shoots him, because now they're really in a pickle. Murtaugh starts shooting at the other soldiers right away. Jamie tells Claire she needs to cut the soldier that starts off on his horse running back to the prison. Jamie tells Claire that she needs to get on her horse and cut him off. So Claire is running on her horse, and then decides that she'd have a better opportunity to catch up to him, even though her horse is fast. He's still ahead of her so much so, and she doesn't really quite trust herself to shoot off of the back of her horse. So she slides off her horse basically onto a knoll and point blank, shoots, not point blank, but shoots him from a decent distance. She unfortunately hits the soldier's horse, and the horse goes down and falls on top of the soldier. And she doesn't really have, this guy was gonna die either way, but she does not really have a choice. She has to kill this soldier. Now, this isn't the first time I think she says that she has killed a man, but it is the first time that she shot a man, and that is the hardest
Yeah,
one for her.
yeah.
Yeah. So they end up getting, thank God, just in the nick of the time, to a boat that's going to passage them to France. So they get to the boat just in the nick of the time, and the whole time that they're on the boat, Jamie is extremely seasick. He's so sick and dehydrated from everything that he's basically been through. He starts to puke up blood. Claire does not know, why, but she knows that it's a strain on his heart. And basically, it's just gotten so bad that to the point where, Murtaugh asks Claire, "Hey, do you still have that laudanum?" Which is basically gonna knock Jamie.
Sedative.
Yeah, a sedative, exactly. It's gonna knock Jamie completely out. So Murtaugh forces Jamie to take the laudanum, and they do, by the literal grace of his goodness God. They make it to France, but barely,
Barely. All
Ugh.
right, chapter 38, the Abbey, guys. So they get off the boat. Where do they go? The Abbey, obviously. Jamie's uncle is a priest and offers them sanctuary to assist Jamie in his recovery and healing. And Claire and some of the fathers keep Jamie's wound clean as best as possible because it's rough, guys. It's rough. And Claire connects with one of the fathers, Father Anselm, and he shows her the library, which is heaven. I want to go to the library. They have a deep discussion on religion, and he helps her to find comfort in God or any spiritual force that she might need. And it was a really good conversation. Claire kind of tells him more about her past and everything that happened with her uncle raising her, and that she's like, I'm not really religious. And so this was very good for her to find something to kind of hold on to. Claire joins him during his chapel sitting. I forgot the terminology, but like somebody sits there every hour. It's called a chapel sit.
It's like a holy vigil or something. Yeah.
Yeah. His is like at 2 a.m. and Claire's like, I'll go sit with you. And like he just kind of prays for an hour and then somebody else comes in and takes over. And so she sits with him, but she was alone but didn't realize it. She thought Anselm was still there. And so he's like, no, but you weren't alone, were you? And she's like, no, I was not. And so Claire is definitely healing herself as well as Jamie during this time. That's basically that chapter. It was so short and sweet introduction to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's discovering, I wasn't getting this impression from the TV show too much, but there's definitely in these last couple of chapters a lot of like very heavy religious undertones to the
Mm-hmm.
story, which I do understand the purpose of this. I mean, I understand the purpose of the time, and like, you know this was what was going on in the world, was that there was many opposing religions, and that's a part of the war, the upcoming war that's coming as well. And you know it's a part of really every war, right? But
Yeah.
you know yeah, so I was like, huh, okay. I see what's going on here. It's kind of interesting to read that. And to like, I mean, I don't even know, at the time there was no hospitals, right? The
Mm-mm.
majority of the healing really was done in a monastery setting. So not surprising. I mean, how else would you write this? Like, yeah, they healed JB and they barely talked about God. It's just like, probably that, that's not accurate. They had to talk about God like a lot. It's kind of like the whole point.
The
So
whole
anyways,
point, yeah.
yeah.
I don't
Um,
remember this part in the show
yeah.
that much. And I'm gonna do my rewatch real soon of like the last half,
Yeah.
and hopefully that just reminds me of it. But I understand also like the why this was needed. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this is very needed for Claire too. Like she
Yeah.
honestly needed this.
Yeah. Yeah, there would be no answer for her to find her way through this grief and time where she has to be all hands on deck essentially to save her husband's life.
Yeah.
And to save his hand too. So, yeah, it makes sense why this had to be written. I guess I just didn't really like ever. Silly enough, I didn't see it coming for some stupid ass reason. But now, now I'm like, yeah, no, of course, of course. Where
But it didn't.
sometimes reading about a religion can be like difficult because if
Hmm.
sometimes it seems a little bit forced down your throat, I guess you should say,
Yeah.
or how I feel. So,
Hmm.
sometimes I'm like, this is a little bit much, but I think it was well written enough for that the person who is reading this, who has zero religious background or maybe any religious connections or affiliations, can understand
Hmm.
why like this would be a guiding light for both of these characters who are at this point stripped completely raw emotionally, physically, mentally, and how, they both really need people to be there for them in different ways.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. Well, anyways, okay. So, chapter 39, to ransom a man's soul. So, Murtaugh stops Claire on her way to see Jamie the next day, and he conveys to Claire that Jamie would like her to go back home to Scotland. Claire will not hear any of this, and she shoves Murtaugh aside and just stomps off to go see Jamie. Jamie tells Claire of how gentle evil Jack was and the sexual things that he had done. Basically, now at this point, Claire is getting the full Monty story, and Claire just has to sit there and basically take it from her husband because he needs to tell somebody. And it has to be her, it has to be her, basically. He
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 does.
he would not be able to tell this to anyone else. And he kind of already knows because Claire has, he has witnessed what Evil Frank has done to Claire and how, and obviously Claire is aware of what attempted to happen with Jenny, and like there's just not a lot of other people that like know the depth, and there's rumors of course, but not a lot of people have had firsthand basically connection, firsthand experience with just how evil Frank is. And so, really Claire is the only person that Jamie can tell about what exactly did happen. So, you know, um he said, that it was horrible that, he was drinking Jamie's blood and smearing it all over himself, and that Frank truly seemed to have made love to Jamie, which totally mentally broke him. Evil Frank was terribly jealous of Claire, and he would ask Jamie what would Claire think if Claire saw them together, and just, really just was, oh, I can't even. There's not a word for it, but it was just like truly grotesque,
Horrible. Hmm.
just to another level.
Hmm.
So Jamie said that he tried to fight him from his mind, but Evil Frank just destroyed it. Jamie wants Claire to leave him and go back to her husband in her other timeline. and just, he's like, listen, I'm less of a man for you now because of what occurred between me and Evil Frank. After this whole story, Jamie asks Claire basically to leave him alone, that he's going to be sick. And she doesn't feel like she really has a choice. Claire, mulls things over and gets into some religious things during this time to try to really muddle her way through this whole story. And Claire heads back to her room and falls asleep and ends up dreaming in passages from the Bible. And she's awoken in the middle of this like fever dream, for lack of a better word, to be told that Jamie is actually fevering and he's become
Oh.
very, very sick. And it is coming from his right hand that is completely damaged. Right at this point, they haven't quite addressed the hand issue. So Claire jumps right into action. Her nurse brain kicks in and she starts applying heat to the hand to help with the infection and struggles to keep Jamie alive. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Jamie during this time is delirious and he is telling Claire just to let him die. But of course, she is so goddamn hard headed. I mean, it's Claire. She will not let
What
him
else?
die.
No.
um, Claire is quite upset because Jamie is given his last rites and Claire is just beside herself. Jamie continues to stay kind of out of it. And the abbots say that Claire really can't do any more for him. Either the fever will break or he will die. Claire thinks that she might die as well with Jamie together at this point. She's shattered. She's completely, unbound by this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Claire ends up coming back to Jamie's side and she forces Jamie to wake up. This part can be really triggering for people.
Yeah, big trigger warning.
So just be aware that if you're, not prepared to hear something like this, that, and I'm just going to give a really blanket trigger warning. If you're not prepared for somebody to act like somebody else who has done the damage, to be the perpetrator essentially, then you need to just go ahead and skip ahead about 5 minutes and then come back. So maybe 2-3 minutes, not to be exaggerated, but anyways. So yeah, Claire decides that for whatever fucking reason, she is going to act like Evil Frank in hopes of bringing Jamie back by sheer Scottish stubbornness, I guess, is the only thing that she can think of. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this is something, just as a sidebar, is so horrible, and I take a lot of issue with her methods to bring him back from the brink of death. Um, I don't know
Yeah.
how we ever arrived at this or what the choice was in this situation, but this was pretty awful. Um,
Yeah.
this if
This was rough.
this somehow unfortunately did work and Jamie kind of gets a second wind and ends up throwing Claire across the room. They get into a real fight. As much as Jamie is capable of fighting at this point, again, he's coming out of a fever. His hand is extremely damaged and he's very, 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 very ill and very, 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 very weak. Jamie basically thinks that Evil Frank is trying to kill him. And it just gets so insane. Somehow through all of this, Jamie comes back and is like, he comes back to himself and he goes, I'm hungry. So his will to live has returned
Mm-hmm.
in a sickeningly horrible, borderline poetic way, because the perpetrator that Claire, guises herself under, suddenly, the victim finds his will to live, which is just like, I don't know about this part. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't think I want to talk anymore about it because
No.
it's still a very hard thing.
Yeah.
Um, so
Like
that's
I
the end
get
of
it, but I also
chapter.
don't.
And same. And that's pretty much the end of chapter 39. So,
Mhm. Yeah. Let's go into chapter 40, guys.
yep.
Absolution. After everything in that last chapter, as we just said, Claire sleeps for 36 hours because Claire has not been sleeping really at all. And Jamie has not been eating. So that's why, like, he's like, I'm hungry. As is Jamie. He also sleeps for 36 hours. They kind of go back to their routine of Jamie wanting to do whatever the fuck he wants and Claire going, no. He wants to eat real food. And Claire's like, you need broth and water. You have been in that prison for over a month. Like, your body is weak. You cannot handle, like, venison or something. Like, you
Yeah.
need liquid. You're on an all liquid diet, my dude. And so, yeah, and he also wants to go on walks, which I get. You're cooped up in a room.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get out. And again, Claire tells him no. That
Start
yeah, said he
slow.
was also on the ship, so just everything is fucked up with Jamie, and I feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
He is stir crazy. It's COVID. He is stuck in the house.
He's in the house bored. He's bored in the house. He's in the
Yeah.
house bored. He's in the house of the Lord and he's bored. Yes.
Perfect. Oh, yeah, but like my guy, just start slow. Start slow. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Claire and Father Anselm go on a walk and they soak their feet in this like warm spring water because Claire needs to get the fuck out too.
Yeah.
And it's under the abbey. And Claire decides to confess to him about who she really is. She's a vampire. Oh shit, sorry. Um, she's a time traveler, obviously.
What are
He
you?
believes her.
Say it out loud.
So yeah, she confesses she's a time traveler, but the way she kind of made him listen to her is like listen under like confession, basically. And he's like, okay, I don't take confession, but okay.
Yeah, that this was funny. He's like, not really my bag. And she was just like, are you not a priest? And he was like,
Fair.
puts on his
Yeah.
he just puts on his stole and he's like, all right.
What is it, my child?
Yeah.
So this is when she's like, I'm a time traveler, and he's like, she's like, you just believe me? He's like, yeah. And she's like, okay. Like it was just like literally that.
Yeah.
So later that night, after chatting more with Father Anselm, Claire wakes up to Jamie in her room. And she like startles obviously because she's awakened by her husband, but he has not been in her room.
Mm-hmm.
And he snuggles up to her because he woke up missing her, and then obviously they have sex because Jamie's like, I woke up missing you and horny, and it's like that's a good sign.
I guess for Jamie, sure. Yeah, this
For Jamie, yeah.
brute of a man. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they fall asleep in each other's arms. The guys are gonna be okay. They're gonna be okay. After everything at 39, they're gonna be okay.
Yeah. One thing we completely forgot to mention, which is like some of the most important part of this whole thing, is that Claire went like hours, 24, damn near, operating on Jamie's hand.
Yeah.
With rudimentary tools and dead-ass hot water to stave out the infection.
In a cottage. Not even here. In a cottage.
Yeah. Yeah. So we completely forgot to mention that, you know, she has gone rounds with him to try to save his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a really important part, because in this last chapter, which I'm about to read over, Jamie is extremely grateful for Claire to save his hand. So we'll get to it now that we're in the very last chapter, chapter 41, from the womb of the earth. A little bit of a little seed, if you will. A little seed for what's in store for old Claire Bear. So Claire is battling, feeling like she wants to go to the Pretender's Court. Remember, there's this looming war that she knows about in 2 years. She's going back and forth, like, should we just disappear? Should we live our lives in peace? Should we go to the Pretender's Court? And do what, Claire? You know, she just doesn't know. And who knows either? Nobody knows. Other days, she feel like she's, you know, just saying she wants to go live in peace with Jamie somewhere. Jamie is healing well. And Claire catches Jamie examining his, you know, healing, but the damaged right hand. It's healing decently. It won't ever be the same, unfortunately. Obviously, with the rudimentary tools that they had, Claire did the best that she could. But again, no X-ray machines, none of those things, no surgeons, none of this stuff.
She did what she
So,
could, plus the infection, so it's, like,
correct.
double stuff, so it's like, ah!
Correct. So Claire feels badly that she didn't fix his hand to perfection, and she says that she will help him rehabilitate it. And she thinks that, Jamie is, because Jamie's kind of ho and humming, and, Claire thinks that Jamie is grieving for for the loss of function of his hand. It's never going to be the same. And Jamie tells her he is crying for joy that he has two hands, um, because of her. And to love her. And this part was really romantic when he was like, two hands to hold you, two hands to be your husband. And I was like, oh my God, this was such a sweet part.
I
Um,
know.
Jamie woke up surprised that he had a hand at all. Because he was thinking that Claire was going to have to cut off his hand because of the infection. He goes on to tell Claire that, that's what they did with Ian. The reason why, he got shot, and he, they had to cut off his leg because of the infection in his blood.
Mhm.
And he's just so grateful that Claire didn't have to do that. And then he's like, hey, by the way, we got a letter. Yeah, King James has summoned them. The pretender himself summoned them to his court. And Claire is like, yeah, I guess we could go, but that sounds like it's gonna be, I'm in danger. They get another letter with some pearls and a wolf pelt from St. Marcus, aka, the cottage that they were at previously before they went to France.
McRannock, yeah.
Yep. His full name is St. Marcus McRannock, I believe. So,
I don't even remember.
yeah, so that's why I referred to him as St. Marcus, but I think his full name is St. Marcus Rannoch. Yeah, that
That
sounds
makes
right.
sense.
Which Claire then tells Jamie, because Jamie didn't even know, that is who gave his mother her pearls. And Jamie and Claire kind of discuss all the things that happened after she was thrown down the body chute. The wolves, the rescue, and all the things. Claire basically cries herself to pieces because she's finally starting to process all the things that have happened to her with Jamie. And Jamie says that he has
Mhm.
something to show her and ends up taking her underneath the abbey to the hot springs. Because previously, as you know, Natasha had discussed that Claire had stuck her feet in the pond, which is fed by this
Mhm.
hot spring underneath the abbey. And there's a bunch of carp, and that's how they can have fresh fish at the monastery all year round, which I was like, okay, this is a fun fact. Um, so Jamie says that he has something to show her and ends up taking her below the monastery to the mineral hot springs that are said to have healing powers, because of course they do. This is a very magical place. A hot spring, a mineral hot spring underneath the monastery. Yeah, no wonder they built a monastery over top of it, by the way. Like, of
No kidding.
course, it just makes so much sense. Um, and then of course this wouldn't be a historical romance if they didn't freak in the mystical magical mineral hot springs below an abbey. Is this not the historical romance to beat all historical romances? Because hello, duh. So they freak their deek
Or
in these hot waters. And then Claire's kind of like, hey, by the way, I have a surprise for you, Jamie. And Jamie's like, oh yeah, what's that? And pregnant.
what?
The end, by the way. The end. Done with the book. What?
I know. One thing I liked about this chapter when Jamie's like, I thought you were gonna cut it off, and she's like, that never even crossed my mind, because she's like, don't cut things off. Like, she's like, I can fix it, I can take care of it, because that's the 1940s. That's what you did. You didn't just cut off the limb. And she's like, that never crossed my mind. And
Mm-hmm.
Jamie's like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's like cute and funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not very romantic if he was like one-handed Jamie also. That'd be a hard sell. I think, for historical romance.
Yes. I was
So
trying to
that
see. I was like, did she hint at the end that she was pregnant, or she just said, "I have a gift for you," and put her hands on her stomach? And Jamie's like, "Oh," and then that's the end.
yeah.
I was
That's
like, ah,
she doesn't really hint that she's pregnant. She just is like, I'm pregnant, and like she does not overtly
right.
say that. No, she doesn't overtly say that she is pregnant, but it is heavily fucking implied. Heavily implied. I mean, why else would she be like, you know? And he's like, "Oh shit, okay,
Mhm.
cool. Guess it is our time." In the midst of this, like, all this horrible shit happening, she goes and, she's we don't even know how far along she is or anything. We know nothing, only that she's just revealed to us, people that are reading the story, and also to Jamie, that she is with child. We have no idea when she figured this out, like nothing. It's kind of interesting because we get her narration throughout the entire book, but we do not get her necessarily mental play by play with a lot of the things that she thinks is going
Mhm.
on. We just kind of get this like overall story. It almost feels like she's writing in a journal to me. Not necessarily that she's
Yeah,
like moment to moment, real time actuating what is actually going on. It's kind of like a retelling of her experiences, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like she's telling her kids, and the kids are writing this down. You know,
Yeah.
because you kind of know what she's thinking. She's like, "Oh, I saw these people and this, like, and I thought maybe this," but it's not like, "Oh, in my brain, I was like, I'm pregnant." It's like, no, she's like, and then I, told your dad.
Yeah. And this is how yeah, so we freaked in the mystical magical hot springs, and then I mic dropped on your papa that you were a thing.
Yep, yep.
So it's almost like she's telling the grandkids, and the grandkids are like, "Oh my god, grandma! Ooh!
Grandma, stop!
Grandma, ew, dude!"
I'm excited to get into Dragonfly and Amber.
Yep. We are both excited to start that up. So stay tuned. Follow us on Fable. So you will see when we do actually start Dragonfly and Amber, and you can read along with us. I try to comment underneath every chapter I finish
Mm.
if I have something to say, or if something was funny or something kind of struck me. I'll just go in there and comment, whatever. So we'll swap that over in Fable as soon as we finish our palette cleanser, which is, once again, we are doing Margo's Got Money Troubles as our palette cleanser, so we can read and then watch, like how we like to do. And yeah, we will catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.